Alright. Hey, it's your boy, Friend Kresno. And you know, I was originally gonna do this in like a separate takes, but you know what? Fuck that shit. You guys only deserve the best from me, Friend Kresno. So I am just gonna give you my essay, and this is going to be the worst experience you have ever chosen, but you know what? I'll do it for you guys. Love ya. Alright. Okay. Just let me. Alright. Okay. Michael Jackson's involvement in Sonic the Hedgehog 3 by Friend Kresno. In the early 90s, the fourth generation of video games was well underway. There were two video game companies, Sega and Nintendo, giving each other fierce competition, each pushing their consoles to the limit in order to beat the other. With big budget, highly publicized games like Golden Axe, Altered Beast, and Alex Kidd, Sega was trying desperately to keep up with Nintendo in the console wars. With the third game of Sega's flagship series, Sonic the Hedgehog, in development, Sega felt like it needed something special and different to boost the game's popularity. They decided to hire a well-known musical figure to compose pieces for the game's soundtrack, Michael Jackson. This was not the first time that Sega has collaborated with Michael Jackson, as they had previously made Moonwalker, a game entirely based around Jackson's music, for the Sega Genesis and arcade cabinets. God damn it, I was really bad at grammar. Originally, Michael Jackson was contracted to write all the music for the game, but unfortunately, close to the game's release date, he was accused of child molestation, which gave him a lot of bad press and a severely tarnished image. Sega decided it would no longer look good to associate themselves with Michael Jackson, so they decided to cut their ties with him, claiming that they would cut all music he had procured for Sonic 3, or produced, fuck. It had been long assumed, since the release of Sonic the Hedgehog 3, on February 2nd, 1994, that Michael Jackson's music had indeed been cut from the game. His name did not appear in any of the credits, and there were rumors that even before the child molestation scandal, that he had not completed his work on the game due to his dissatisfaction with the Genesis audio quality. From this information, we know that Michael Jackson did work on the game, but we don't know exactly how all the pieces he worked on. Though, this wouldn't be the first time he was credited with work he didn't put his name on, which we could see in work in the episode of The Simpsons Stark Raving Dad. He was credited as John J. Smith, which the show itself acknowledged in a later episode, and which was called "And You Wouldn't Believe the Celebrities Who Did Cameos." Bah. Dustin Hoffman, Michael Jackson. Of course they didn't use their real names, but you could tell it was them. Oh wow, this is a quote. God damn it, how the hell did I get an A for this? Maybe it was a B. Not sure. I digress. But 12 years later after the game's release, in 2006, people began noticing similarities between Michael Jackson's music and the in-game soundtrack of Sonic 3. Rumors started swirling that Michael Jackson's music had not, in fact, been cut from the final game. This rumor went unexamined, largely because in the video game industry of 2006, it was unheard of for a musician and celebrity of Michael Jackson's caliber to be involved in the production of a video game. However, this paper examines musical similarities between Michael Jackson's known work and the music of Sonic 3 to argue, in fact, Jackson's work did make its way onto the final game. Before looking at the music itself, it is necessary to give a brief introduction to the development of Sonic 3. The game was developed in the United States. Because Sega planned for the music to be such an integral part of the game, they allowed Michael Jackson to bring in up to 12 of his personal collaborators to work with him on composing the game's soundtrack. Jackson and his 12 collaborators had to work within the technical limitations imposed by the Genesis cartridge. The sound chip used in the Genesis was the Yamaha YM2612. This sound chip was both used in the Genesis console and in the Genesis arcade cabinets. To give a point of reference, the Genesis contemporary, the Nintendo Entertainment System, had only four channels and noise, while the YM2612 used 6 channels. At the time, the YM2612 was regarded as a high-quality sound chip, allowing enough space to create relatively intricate soundtracks for Genesis titles. Fuck, this is a lot to go through. In Sonic 3, there are many tracks that contain Michael Jackson's musical motifs. In the track Carnival Zone, there is a specific melody that is played at the end of the song, which was identical to the melody in one of Jackson's other songs, Jam. This melody was a horn-based downwards fall, as it was played directly before featured artist Heavy D's rap in Jam, and also completes the Carnival Night Zone track in terms of a loop. Carnival Night also uses two small samples taken from Jam, the sound of breaking glass, and Heavy D uttering the word Jam from the beginning of his rap verse. The music for Ice Cap Zone is another track where we can see Michael's influence. The music sounds similar to two of his songs, Smooth Criminal and Who Is It, in the game Moonwalker. My god. This is so... in which all music is attributed to Jackson, there is a part that sounds similar to Ice Cap Zone roughly around the 6 minutes into the song. The bass has a similar structure like Ice Cap, which makes it similar. Also, when the two songs are sped up to match the level, they both sound similar to each other, but not exact. And also, digress, this timeout here, I made this essay, but I will say, I may not be 100% right. Just for you, like, just so I don't get fucking shit talked, you know. I'm covering my tracks, man. Covering my tracks. Okay, so Smooth Criminal shares a similar bassline to Ice Cap as compared to one another. The tone's a bit off, but shares a similar musical skeleton to it, which would make sense of why people would say it's the same song. For Who Is It, the music needs to be sped up just so to hear a similarity. It really doesn't share its melody or harmony, just its texture. There is also audio samples from the game which have a Michael Jackson style to them, which could be linked to other songs. Another level that shares the similarities with Michael's music was Thriller and Marble Garden Zone. God, don't blame me here, guys. It was really late, alright? The music shares a similar bass line, and the moment of climax is different. What we could consider the hook of the song when Michael Jackson says Thriller is the rest period of the level, which then is mashed together. God damn it, is the rest period of the level, which then mashed together, the music seems to fit together really well. Which to me seems that Michael still had some lasting influence on the music, as even though he was not there with the team anymore, his musical style was kept in the game. The music accompanying Sonic 3's end credits also bears Michael Jackson's musical fingerprint. The end credits have the same chords as Jackson's Stranger in Moscow, and similar instrumentation made predominantly of horns and string. Their only substantive difference is the music accompanying the credits has a faster tempo than Stranger in Moscow, and there's a precedent in another Sonic game for a composer to use essentially the entire previously released song as the music to accompany the ending credits. In Sonic 2, composer Masato Nakamura reused a song from his song Sweet Times 3. I'm not gonna say Sweet, Sweet, Sweet. I can't. No. I'm just gonna call it Sweet 3. Again, the tempo for the version on the use of the Sonic 2 track is increased, but otherwise the chords and instrumentation are the same. The soundtrack of Sonic 3 also shows distinct traces of music Michael Jackson's God damn it, I'll restart. The distinct music of Sonic 3 also shows distinct traces of music of Jackson's known collaborators. Specifically, Brad Baxter seems to have basically redone one of his old songs from his band The Jetsons called Hard Times, turning it into a section of the music accompanying the Ice Cap Zone. The difference between Ice Cap and Hard Times is that Baxter's song was a fully realized song, just like Sweet Times 3, I'm not gonna say that, with its lyrics and higher quality instrumentation. The two songs are essentially the same, but there are some minor noticeable differences, especially with the use of guitar and other instruments. Many people claim that there are similarities to Who Is It, of which Brad played the keyboard instrumental of that song, which would explain the similarities. This would also explain why in the PC port there were different music for certain stages in the game. It would make sense if you looked at it from that way, as those songs would be created by Michael, but instead would have to be replaced due to copyright issues. The work that Jackson did in Sonic 3 has been recognized as part of his larger body of work. It reveals a different side of him as a composer, as he is constrained by the technological limitations of the Genesis YM2612 chip. A broader analysis of how Jackson's Sonic 3 pieces fit into his overall portfolio would likely provide an interesting perspective on Jackson as a composer. And that's all my work for my essay. I hope you like it, because this was a bitch to do. Alright,